I show up in the world unapologetically with a lot of passion, with a lot of heart, with a lot of humor, because that's who I am, and I'm not afraid to show it.
Hello, my name is Dr. Christina Kishimoto, and I am the CEO of Voice for Equity. I am so excited to introduce you to the June edition of the Stories We Must Tell. Every month, we feature another woman leader, CEO, who is leading in innovative, equity based, and justice oriented ways. We have quite a treat for you today. We are going to be featuring Antoinette Banks, who is a CEO, an innovator, a mom, and an equity minded leader. Enjoy her story. Welcome to this edition of the Stories We Must Tell. And with me today is a good friend. I don't know, do I get to call you a good friend? We just got to know each other, Antoinette Banks. So
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Christina Kishimoto, the host of this show, and I am so excited because I have a new friend and I'm going to introduce to the world my new friend. Do I get to call you a friend, Antoinette?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Hello.
we met recently, what, in the mountains of Colorado, and
Yes.
what a great place to meet someone for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're both doing Pahara,
Hmm.
and so that's pretty cool. And for two women who just like to grab the world by its tail, it's really cool to be up there in a learning mode. And so I really enjoyed getting to know you. And of course, I got to know you, Antoinette, because at the very beginning, the facilitator asked a question, and big old Antoinette with her personality said, wait a second, I don't know if I agree with that. And so I love that about you. I saw that for the next, week that we spent together. Tell me about what that was like to be out in the mountains, meeting new people.
It was a forced tap in. It was like, don't nobody bother me, nobody say nothing. I'm here on purpose to pursue whatever purpose is going to happen here. Um, and I loved it. I loved the fresh air and the nature. Obviously, we connected. Uh,
Yes, we did.
yes, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
It was. And so you and I have a bit of this entrepreneurial, energy to us. We're innovators, we're observers of the world. I think we also are both grant recipients from at some point from New School Venture Fund. Is that right also?
Yes, I got my first national funding from New Schools Venture Fund.
Okay, so did I as well. And so you see, our paths have crossed and we didn't even know that, and we were meant to meet on the mountain.
Yes, yes.
So I need to ask you, a question so that, others can get to know you quickly, which is you're the CEO of a company that you started as a parent who couldn't get answers
Yeah.
from the school system, from your daughter's school system. And so you created your own solution. And I think that says a lot about you. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, my daughter was diagnosed with severe autism, and I didn't quite understand what that meant at the time. She was nonverbal, she was running into stuff all the time, and I thought we were going to get a lot of help at in the school environment, but it just didn't turn out that way. It was a lot of she can't do this, she can't do that, figure it out. So I created a prototype of what I have now for my company for my daughter. And I thought if I can get everybody on board on the same page, we're talking about the same thing, we understand the same person, then what is there to figure out? And over the years, we could get really focused on what she needed, the learning environment she needed. And so she went from nonverbal to now she's a little too verbal. She's a teenager talking up a storm. And she's going to graduate this Friday.
Oh my God,
High
congratulations.
school.
That's amazing. Just as a parent, the joy that that brings, right? To
Yeah.
see your daughter at this point in her life, graduating and having big ideas herself. I wonder where she got that from.
Yeah. She wants to be a nanotechnologist. So,
Wow. So, but you yourself jumped into this whole, AI enabled solution for this problem that really was a problem that the school system had, but you were the one experiencing that lack of a solution. So how does Antoinette become an entrepreneur, engaging with, AI technology and having these big ideas? How do you go from concerned parent looking for a solution to now you're an entrepreneur and an innovator?
Yeah. You want to know something? I put a lot on hold to advocate for my daughter, and I decided to go back to school at night while I was supporting her and working and, making money. And I learned a lot about the psychology of the brain, behavioral psychology. And then from there, I just kept going and transferred into university and studied cognitive science, which is an interdisciplinary domain of linguistics, of artificial intelligence, of psychology, and it puts all of it together, and computer science. So right there, I was just like, whoa. I am an expert. I had the Robert J. Gleschkow call me an expert in cognitive science. And I'm looking at how all of these things work, and we need more data. We need variability to create like, outstanding, robust models. And I was just like, how interesting, because students that are have learning differences or disclosed disabilities have huge variability. And this could be wonderful if I could take a prototype, apply higher level technical solutions, and come out with something awesome. And so that's what I did. I decided to keep going and keep refining, and then put in first machine learning to see if we can put some recommendation modeling in for kids, and then artificial intelligence.
So I love this story. And so you describe yourself as a cognitive scientist. You're an entrepreneur. You're an innovator. You're a mom.
Yes.
And you're an amazing friend. I already can see that. So I'm excited about this, this alliance I now have with you, this connection, right? So how does that speak to who you are, how you grew up, and where you developed this mindset of going after what you need to go after and solution setting when the answers aren't available somewhere else?
You want to know something? I also am a very like faith-based person, and it's so funny that we're sort of forced this thought process of either you need to be out there swinging or you need to be quiet. And for me, I like to what I call exist in the pocket, and the pocket of music where there's some expectation to happen. The pregnant pause in like the theater where you can anticipate something is about to happen. And I love existing there because there's possibilities. I don't need to be the loudest person in the room, but when I talk, you're going to listen. And I'm going to sit back and understand what's happening around me. And who is it that who are the people that I need to connect with at all times? And so that's kind of how I've been able to navigate, whether if I had an awareness of it and then became to have an awareness of it, of like, okay, I like to lead with joy, a lot of heart, a lot of wisdom, a lot of discernment. So yeah.
So I have to ask then, you know yourself, right? You know what you love, what you don't love, you know what you want to do, you know what you don't want to do, right? You know your space. And so as you interact with other people, how do you see who you are impacting them?
You know, I think that
And is that something you pay attention to?
not in the moment, it usually is after. But my intention whenever I go anywhere is that like I expect something miraculous to happen. I don't care what it is, how it is, even if it's the wind blowing through my hair at the right time if I'm sweating too much, you know? Like I expect something miraculous to happen because I'm here, because I know I'm a gift. And I think other people are a gift too. And when we connect with each other, our gifts pull out each other's gifts. And that's how I truly do feel. And then usually after the fact when I leave, it's always like a confirmation where someone's like, girl, you said this and it made me think about this and da 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 da. And I'm like, yes, now we in the pocket. Now we got some rhythm. And that's how I choose to live my life, with expectancy. Because why can't we have moments of peace and moments of sustained happiness? And we should be able to live like that.
Yeah, so you are equally intense about the stuff that really matters and equally joyful. And
Oh,
so
yeah. Yes.
That's awesome, right? And how do you show up so that you're paying attention to how others are impacting you? So I'm kind of turning it around now.
How others are impacting me?
How others impact you? How do you show up in that space so that, do you show up so that you're paying attention to who's in the room and, how they're having an impact on you?
Yeah, I kind of just quiet myself, you know, but usually my vibes, you know, are up. So it's just like,
Okay,
okay.
wait, that's how you and I met. Hold on. Because you were sitting next to me on a couch with, 20 other people around us. We're in this kind of seminar conversation, and I can feel your vibe already. And you're sitting on the couch next to me. We haven't even said a word to each other yet.
I know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, someone can say whatever they want. And it's up to us to either reject it or accept it.
So, so many times I'm going to focus a little bit on women leaders now.
Yeah.
Women go into a field of work, and whether they themselves do it unintentionally or others do it to them, we get kind of pigeonholed into kind of this career path. And, you have a life story of which we're just getting a little glimpse where, you've had these different experiences because you're open to what life brings to you and where you're needed.
Yes.
What's your advice to women who go down a career path and are really interested in doing things like you did, right? With this work with Expert IEP, where, you said there's a need. I'm gonna pivot. I need to learn some new things. I'm gonna go study. I'm going to, oh my goodness, I'm a cognitive scientist, right? This is really who I like, this constant self-discovery that just makes you bigger and bigger in the space that you want to occupy and impact others, right? But how do you advise women who feel like they're constantly being pushed back into a lane?
Mm. Yeah, it's not easy because we've all felt that, and I don't want to pretend like I've got all of the answers because it is such a huge thing that we all deal with. Um, I think for me, I take a lot of cues from nature, and I like to be next to water, running water. And usually the way I like to be is I like to flow. And have you ever seen water, right? And all of a sudden there's a rock that gets dropped in the stream. The water doesn't stop. It just flows around it, flows through it, flows whatever. And that's how I position ourselves. And I would tell that to a lot of women. Like, we know who we are and we know whose we are. We know who we belong to. We know who's given us a lot of input, over the course of our lives and who's helped us. And then what we listen to in our quiet moments and our prayer time, whichever it may be. Because nobody has the right to tell you you're too little, you're too small, or your thoughts are too big, or if you feel a yearning that's calling you, you can explore that. Like, the world is supposed to be filled with curiosity and joy. And so, okay, there's a pebble that comes, flow around that joker, flow over that joker. Like, try me if you want to. I'm just gonna keep flowing.
Love
and,
it.
and if you're wrong, can you actually be wrong because you listen to yourself? Not really. And one thing I would like to say too is that because we have to shrink sometimes or have in the past, like, we also need to establish trust with ourselves. If we say we're going to do something and we feel we're going to do something, we need to do that so that we can know, okay, I trust myself to go make this happen. And whatever happens is going to happen. Probably something fabulous anyway. So that's how I view it. I look at nature. I have a fabulous garden. Please come. You're welcome to come. Get some cucumbers. I got too much happening right now. But I do believe, like, imagine, like, even with plants, leave them alone, they're gonna still bloom where you're planting.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love the flow piece. I love the connection to nature. I love the learning from nature. I think you and I kind of resonate with each other around some of those core ways in which we live our lives, those core principles that we really hang on to and lead by and make this determinations of where we're going to lead. Uh, how do you, though, decide to execute? I mean, how did you decide to execute on this solution. So obviously there was something, very important that needed to be addressed. It's your child and her future. But the difference between I need this and I'm gonna execute, there's a gap there, right? That's not so easy. We may be driven, but we don't quite know the steps we need to take, or we're not sure that we can take that chance. What drives you to execute and to trust yourself with that?
I pray about it. Literally, I pray about it. And as crazy as this sounds, again, I don't care, but I pray about it and I usually get an answer. If it's go, then it's go. And that's it. like, like the way I think about it is that there's no one else in this world that's smarter than you. And whatever is like the unction that you have, there's show me somebody and we could just laugh together over some tea or something because nobody is built and we're all figuring it out. I like you've been in some of the best, brightest rooms and probably looking around like, how did this fool get up in here? But that's how I feel. It's just like if I'm gonna think about it, if I'm gonna do it, I can't stop thinking about it unless I do it. And there's a level of peace in myself that I need to have. Otherwise, I feel like this burning desire and I want to be able to sleep. So go and do it. Go and execute. And then I personally will feel released to, relax.
Yeah, you've given us a lot of words of wisdom, whether you recognize it or not, Antoinette.
Okay.
As we wrap up here, how do you make sure you continue to sleep at night? I think that's so key. I mean, you kind of casually said it, but that's really important. I want to have a great life. I want to have a joyful life. I want to have impact, but I also want to sleep at night. And so for the next 3 years out, as you think about where you want to focus, what you want to do and what you don't want to do, are there any kind of things on the horizon you want to share with the broader community about where you're headed and how you're making sure you still sleep at night?
Well, next year I will be Dr. Banks. And that's
Woohoo!
like, one of the things I can relax about. Another thing is I'm moving forward with my company and there's certain levels of impact that I want to reach. And then I'll feel like, great, we've done good. Now I want to do better. And personally, what I've started to do is um, think about my wind down time is very sacred. So even if I have to stay up a little bit later or whatever, that wind down time for me is usually I need to go for a walk and I need to come home. I need to relax. Nobody interrupt me. Okay. Nobody. I'm going to take a nice, use the shower or bath, whatever. And skincare to me to like wind down, to just honor my body, say beautiful things as I'm putting on lotion. Like, we've got this, we're doing this, wonderful types of things. And it helps me to get into a state of I'm worthy, I'm enough, I can pour back into myself a little bit. I've poured throughout the day and I deserve rest. We deserve a little bit of rest. We deserve a little bit of ease. That's almost a protest to what's happening in life for us to keep going, going, going. So I hold that sacred. And I also make sure to stretch so I can just move my body a little. And I'm saying this like, laughing it off, but I'm so serious about it. Like, no, y'all got to leave me alone. Come talk to me in the morning. Do not bother me.
So I love that, that heart, the body, the mind, the balance between all of that. And we know it's not perfectly balanced, but we do know that if we're not paying attention to it and we're not being intentional, then we're going to miss out on caring for our whole selves. So thank you, Miss Antoinette Banks, soon to be Dr. Banks. I will be there to celebrate with you. Thank you for joining us, and to our larger One Women Lead and Voice for Equity community, the great Antoinette Banks.
Okay. Well,
Woohoo!
thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure and privilege and honor.